The creative process is actually a really big part of my work, in that the actual production of the final product is just the end of a fairly long journey where um, I really value the importance of drawing. Um, so the drawing part of my process is actually going out into the suburbs, finding places that I find have got the particular kind of compositional interest, and I'll draw, loosely out there. I'll take photos too. Um, I do paint plein air, but I don't often paint plein air, only because it's just not practical at the moment. But it is going to happen more because I've got less family responsibilities as an older person. I don't have to stay at home as much, so I do think I'll get out into the open. But the process is actually quite interesting in that the preparation of my ground or my surfaces is quite a big thing, because I've got this interest in providing high key colour as a underpaint. So I've got a couple of examples of some of my underpainted boards here. So you can see this one. Look at all that amazing red and orange and
Look at the
pink.
colours in it. Yeah.
So there was a time where I was painting cityscapes more, like a big CBD style high-rise buildings, and those sort of places don't really have a lot of colour.
There's no colour in them.
Not a lot,
no.
and if it is, it's quite it's minimal, but it didn't really jump out at me at the time. So I thought, well, if I'm going to introduce colour, I don't want to do it in a contrived way. So I'm going to put colour down first, draw on top of it, and then get rid of the colour slowly but surely over the top, and leave parts that I think deserve to stay. So what I do is, with these boards, I'll just prime them up, white gesso on the back, gesso on the front. Then I get primary colours with acrylics and split them down on top of the boards. And this is one of the little squeegee tools that I'll use, and I just really scrape down hard against it, and it gets this very thin filmic layer, and it allows the colour combinations to really actually do what they do. If you mix thick underpaint over the top of one colour over the top of the other, you don't see the mixing in place. Whereas this thin film, see where the overlaps occur, you start to learn about the behaviour of colour against other colours. And so that gives me these little hints of what colour can do and be. But then I will have a large quantity of these boards, and there's all sorts of different variations. And then I have these as little stock pieces that when I come to painting, I'll find the board that suits the composition. So there might be a line that way and a line that way in that board, and I'll paint the subject that suits that. I paint in charcoal. I draw with charcoal, dust it off so it's not charcoal-y too much, and then use oils over the top. So it's basically acrylic underpaint, charcoal drawing, oil over the top.
With the gesso back, with the gesso
with the
base.
gesso base.
Yes.
So the oil then moves around and it gets absorbed really nicely. But you get the situation where, for instance, this one is a little commission that I have finished.
And that's somebody's home.
That's somebody's home.
That's somebody's home. Yes.
And you can see where I've let that high key colour stay, even though it wasn't there at the time but I thought in the process of doing this, it's kind of like a reduction rather than a build up. So I'll reduce the amount of those high key colours, and where I see it fit, I'll just leave it. So it's an instinctual thing that I think that red actually works up there, because there's something next to it that is a slightly more mundane colour that needs to be given a bit of heightening. And so it's all about light and shade, really, in the technical aspect of it. But the subject matter is about documentary.
Well, it's also too about drawing your eye to certain parts of that painting.
Yep.
I mean, you draw your eye to the footpath.
Yeah.
Draw your eye to the tree. The house is there, and that is the main feature. But there are other parts of that painting that are just stand out. I think I'd be very happy if I was the owner of that house.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's
lucky them.
That's the thing. But when you look at old artists, this may be another question, but art that I enjoy has a documentary quality to it. Artists like Clarice Beckett, amazing painter who has a approach subject-wise to mundane parts of the streetscape or the city, things that are ordinary. But because it was of that time, you can see things in it that don't exist anymore, and you go, that's what happened in those days. They used to have funny little lights on the side of a bus stop or whatever it was that doesn't exist now, and the
ordinary now becomes the extraordinary.
Exactly.